We ducked into an alley and rushed past the sound of dogs barking and straining against their leashes as we emerged onto the next street. It was a commercial strip with stores and restaurants, and when I passed a garbage can, I tossed my cell phone into it. I knew they could use it to track me, and dumping it had always been part of the plan if things became dangerous. "Where is this spaceship?" I asked her. "How do we get to it?"
"First, we have to go see my uncle."
I stopped in the street and waited until she faced me. "I don't think you get this. They're going to come looking for me at your place. And when you're not there, they're going to check all likely contacts. Any relative of yours is going to be high on that list."
"He's not a real uncle,"
she said, walking on, not bothering to see if I was following.
"He's an old army buddy of my father's. He really helped out my dad when my mom died, and since my dad's problems, he's been really good to me. I went down there to stay with him a few times when my dad got really bad, but I always took the bus, always paid in cash, so there's nothing to connect me to him. We don't really talk to the neighbors, and Dad doesn't have friends anymore, so no one will have any idea where we've gone."
"Your father will."
"My dad has PTSD, he's depressed, and he drinks too much,"
Alice said with dead seriousness.
"But he won't betray his daughter."
Okay. I didn't love this plan, but it was the best one we had at the moment. "Where does this uncle live?" I asked.
"That's the tricky part," she said. "San Antonio."
"Texas!" I almost shouted.
"It's only a little bit out of our way. I'll tell you more once we get going."
Alice took out her phone and called a cab, which she told to meet us at a nearby corner. When it pulled up, Alice sweetly explained that we wanted to go to downtown Denver, giving him the name of the hotel. I opened my mouth to ask, but then I realized what she was doing. If anyone questioned the cabbie, and I figured they would, he wouldn't know we'd been planning on leaving the state. The cabbie looked at us, like he was trying to figure out if we were going to give him any trouble. We smiled at him. We were just two ordinary kids in jeans and long-sleeve t-shirts. Nothing made us seem like we were on the run. "That's almost 40 miles. It'll be at least $100, he said, like he was still debating whether or not he should take us. Alice, however, was done discussing it. "Great," she said cheerfully as she opened the door and hopped in the back. I glanced around to make sure that there were no dark sedans or revenge-minded aliens lurking in the street, and then followed Alice into the cab. We didn't say much on the way, mainly because the cab driver kept glancing at us, trying to figure out our deal. When the cops or aliens or whoever questioned him, I didn't want him to have anything to say except we were quiet and polite. I figured it never hurts to be well-mannered when you're on the run. When we pulled up in front of the hotel, Alice paid the driver and went to the lobby. Once he was gone, she gestured with her head, and we went back onto the street and walked a few more blocks to the bus station. Alice kept checking the time on her phone, telling me to hurry. We got there with about 15 minutes to spare before the evening bus left for San Antonio. I didn't know what we would have done if we'd missed it, but I was also happy to be cutting it so close. We'd be long gone before anyone thought to look for us, though if they guessed where we were going, they'd be waiting for us at the other end. We paid for our tickets, got on board, and took seats in the back. I stared out the window at the growing dark, waiting to see police cars, lights flashing, cutting off our path, but nothing like that happened. The bus pulled out, and we were on our way. When we hit the highway, Alice took out her phone and began to check the UFO blogs to see if there was any new sightings. There weren't, which didn't mean anything by itself. "They're going to figure out that I'm with you," I said. "You need to lose the phone."
"On TV shows, they just take the SIM card out,"
she assured me, like I was being ridiculous. Well, on TV shows they're running from the FBI, not aliens with unimaginably advanced technology. She looked at her phone with a sad expression. It was an iPhone, the latest model, and it was going to hurt to let it go. But she nodded. Then she opened the window and let it drop. I turned in time to watch it shatter into fragments on the highway. An old woman a few seats up, the half-full bus, happened to be turned around at that moment, and she scowled at us. Alice looked at her with the sweetest smile you've ever seen, and the woman turned away. I couldn't believe how calm Alice was about everything, how much she took things in stride. I'd lived for a long time with the knowledge I might have to ditch my cell phone one day. I'd purposely bought a cheap model for that reason. And it had still been hard for me to drop it in the trash. Alice had tossed her cutting-edge piece of expensive technology out the window because I'd told her it was what she needed to do.
Clearly, I'm on board, she told me. I'm on the run. I've smashed my phone, which had some great selfies and all my favorite songs on it. So, I think it's time you told me everything that you've been holding back.
She was right. There was no longer a good reason to wall her off from the truth. Alice had trusted me, helped me, because she thought it was the right thing to do. She didn't hesitate or waver or fret. The least I could do was give her the full story. So, I told her about how the president came to my house, and about going to Camp David and the Confederation starship the Dependable. I told her about how we were attacked by violent aliens called Fads, and how, with the bridge crew injured, I'd had no choice but to take over the weapons station, how I destroyed the attacking ship. I told her about the fallout from the battle and all the unfair things I'd had to go through. Yet, even as I was listing my grievances, I couldn't help but tell her how amazing it was on Confederation Central. I told her about the thrill of spaceflight sims and having a HUD and gaining experience points. I told her about Steve and about Tamrat, how much I cared for her, and how she'd hacked our skill tree so I could rescue my father and bring the Confederation 2 Phatic ships to reverse engineer. When I finished the story, she just looked ahead for a long time. Finally, she turned to me.
You know, it's too bad you lost your skill enhancements. Those would come in handy right about now.
That made me laugh. Yeah, no kidding. But the thing is, I wonder if they're still in there somewhere. I mean, I can read foreign and alien languages automatically, which I shouldn't be able to do. She punched my arm.
No wonder you're doing so well in French. You're totally cheating.
I'm using the tools at my disposal, I corrected. Well, what matters is that the nanites weren't neutralized the way they were supposed to be.
And this giraffe guy, Dr. Roop, is the one who was supposed to neutralize them, she said. Do you think he could have messed with the system on purpose? Kept the nanites still working?
That's what I thought, I told her, but I can't figure out how I can turn everything else back on.
Did he say anything to you? Leave you a hint?
I thought back on that moment, how before he had injected me with something that was supposed to neutralize my nanites, he'd acted strangely. He'd put a hand on my face, which was a kind of affection I hadn't seen in him before. He told me to remember, but he didn't say remember what. And then it dawned on me, Dr. Roop must have done something to me before I left the station, and now the two things that made me unlike other people were my ability to understand foreign languages and the fact that I had an obnoxious intelligence rattling around in my brain. Did Dr. Roop deliberately plant you inside my head? I said. Are you speaking to me? Smelly asked. No, I'm asking the human girl if an alien she's never met inserted her into my skull. Your sarcasm makes me sad. Then answer the question. I have no knowledge of how I arrived in your putrid skull, but it is possible that this Dr. Roop you speak of transferred some kind of nanoware to mask the fact that your nanites were directed to only partially reverse your enhancements. If this creature used the technology of those you call formers, then it is possible my existence was attached to that code. Can you reactivate my nanites? I asked. Can you level me up? If I could do that, Smelly said, why would I be tinkering around with your ridiculous suit? I sighed. There were not going to be any shortcuts. Whatever I was going to do, I would have to do it like any regular human who happened to have a semi-functional supersuit under his clothes.